The Jones River Watershed Association hosts lectures throughout the winter with topics like sea level rise, climate change, and storm preparedness. PCN went to a recent talk and learned about coastal erosion and what can be done to slow this erosion at our coastlines.
So when you have coastal banks or bluffs, those are deposits from the glaciers when they were here over 18,000 years ago. As sea level rose after the glaciers retreated, the glacial deposits eroded and the sediment moved along shore to form our beaches and dunes. You know that the waves are getting up there. You need something to hold that toe so that you can get the upper part vegetated. These coir rolls are, if you use the ones that are natural, biodegradable, without the synthetic mesh, these don't reflect wave energy the way a structure does. These can be used at the toe of a bank, and then you can vegetate up above. This is a site that they were not allowed to put in a structure. They couldn't by regulation. They had an erosion rate over a foot a year. They put these in, and 10 years later, it's still stable. And it has since survived Sandy and last winter. You know, in the case of this lower right picture is actually from the Cape, where it's called sturdy drift fence, and they have large wooden posts, and each of those slats are nailed on. And they're having trouble with these because they are getting taken out in storms, and they're having nails all over the beach and a lot more wooden splinters everywhere instead of the smaller wooden slat fence. So we talk about some of the different kinds. There's also plastic fencing out there. We don't recommend that either.
You need to work with the natural processes to enhance them because the beaches and dunes and banks have a natural ability to provide storm damage protection and flood control interests. So there are techniques that we can use to enhance their natural ability to provide us with protection instead of putting a structure in place that reflects the energy. Try to put something in place that dissipates more wave energy.
They thought they were landscaping nicely, but it has exacerbated their erosion. So by having more water in the soil, it's easier to erode. And so all the contributions from rain as well as the irrigation system are making that situation worse. So this lower right picture, they had the whole yard slope toward the top of the bank. And they're actually in a relatively sheltered bay, but they had this huge erosion issue, and their whole bank was a mess. It was not, they couldn't vegetate it. The engineer that came in and worked on it regraded the top yard away from the top of the bluff. They put in shrubs as a vegetated buffer there, and then they were able to reestablish a stable slope. They used the coir rolls at the toe of the bank, natural fiber blankets on the face, and then revegetated the whole face.
So they need to look at having the runoff slope away from the coast and having more of a natural vegetated buffer with salt-tolerant erosion control species that have a better root structure, and that's much more effective as a buffer to help with preventing erosion. We have a whole website that describes coastal landscaping for private property owners.